Hello, Kishori.
Hello.
Thank you for accepting this interview, this time in English, because we just did it in French, but to open even more doors and even more wisdom to many more people, we're doing this in English. So thank you so much for taking the time.
Okay.
You're a medical intuitive, and you've been at 18 years old in an ashram. You have studied and studied, written many books. But today we're going to discuss the DNA and how this is evolving, and also the point zero and why it is important. So first of all, tell us what is happening with the DNA. What have you discovered?
I started to work in treating people with medical intuition and kinesiology that I had studied in United States with chiropractors. And I also studied radionics that have long lists of viruses, emotions, and I was geared with protocols in my head, the way we work with kinesiology or with radionics. And I wanted to change the programs underneath illnesses and other symptoms like depressions or whatnot, or hyperactive children. I just knew something else was there more than just emotional work or chemical toxins, or I knew something was wrong in our own genetic patterns. And I was greatly influenced by Barbara Marciniak in her book that she wrote in 1993, The Bringers of the Dawn, where she spoke about the 12 elixirs and how their time had come back to be reactivated. So I started to do my own research on based on what I was doing with my clients already. I started to include some DNA details in my treatments. It was just vibrational medicine, was not like a science, and my work is still vibrational. It's not like we're going in the DNA and claiming that we can change it, but 97% of DNA, it's called random DNA. And actually, the first name for this was junk DNA, like garbage DNA, because no one knew what it was all about. And 3% was coded and gave you your color, hair, and everything. But the other 97% was called junk DNA, which is now being changed, or it was also called random DNA, like random, it didn't know what it was doing. Now it's called non-coded DNA, meaning it's not coded the same way, but it is shown that it's got influence in the way a message is carried through the biology of the person. And I started to talk with DNA I had the intuition that if we addressed it, it would respond based on the work done on water and the response, even before that, the work done on plants that were done like in the 80s or early 90s, where Christopher, can't remember his second name, but used to play music to his plants and they would bloom, and I knew that matter way before quantum physics. People who were into metaphysics knew that matter was affected by vibrational input. Even in radionics, the whole thing in radionics is working on radiations, numbers of how much radiance, not radiation, but radiance a plant or even an emotion has. So I took all that thinking, and I set up some protocols, which, for instance, the protocol about being in the here and now, I thought, if I've worked so hard for it, meditated up to 5 hours a day and never got to it, it's probably because I don't have the program. So I set up the first part of the protocol exactly like working in radionics or kinesiology, where you ask questions like, do I have the program to be in the here and now? Is there a part of me that is cut in the past or is moved forward in the future? Is my physical body completely in the now? My emotional body, my spiritual body, are they all here? How many generations do I come from didn't know how to be in the here and now? And all kinds of questions like that, to which you answer in an intuitive manner by yes or no. You can use kinesiology, a pendulum, or whatever device, or just inner knowing. And then when you build up the profile of all those questions that fit for you, then the second part is done through command. And we speak out loud and we say, I command that this program be installed in the nucleus, this cell of the pineal gland, and then we just move on and we install it in all systems. We command that this program be stable, and there's a whole protocol on how to command, and we there use the approach of 0 point. What I mean by this is, instead of saying, oh, it should work, and if it doesn't work, and what if I'm wrong, and we just say, I choose to be at 0 point while I do this command. And 0 point means I choose to be right and wrong. And in quantum physics, before quantum physics, we had computers that were binary. They could say yes or no, 0 or 1. Now they can say yes and no at the same time. We don't yet have those computers on the market, but they're used in the army and whatnot. Those new quantum computers can say yes and no at the same time, and will make the computer we're using now look like dinosaurs, because they can do such fast mathematics that we have no idea, because they can conceive of a yes and a no at the same time. So when we command that the protocol be installed, we use the yes and no mode, which is the 0 point mode. But it's not about did it work or not. It's about, has it entered into the matrix where my whole body is. If we think of our body as a matrix, and a matrix would look like the screen on your porch door. It's got all these it's like little squares all related with each other. And when you move one, the whole thing moves. It's like a napkin, if you move one corner, then the whole napkin moves. So if you install this protocol here, it affects the whole of the napkin. Does that make sense to you? It's almost like I would take a piece of paper, which is a very good example, and let's say I install my protocol here. Look, before my piece of paper was going like this, and I put a wave here, the whole piece of paper starts changing. That's exactly how vibrational medicine works.
So this is we're talking revolutionary stuff here.
I think it's so unrevolutionary because the ancient knew about this. And us, we have gone, like Caroline Myss says in her book, Defy Gravity, through the age of reason. But now we have finished the age of reason, and we're moving back into mysticism. And she said something that really touched me. You cannot reason with sickness. You cannot reason with depression. You cannot reason with loss. You've got to go at a much deeper level. And for me, bringing the 0.0, where we use the negative and the positive, where we dare to choose. I was once influenced by a man who lives in Arkansas. And it was at a conference I went to, and that guy did healing, on people's head, and put his hand, and he would call his angels. And he gave us a conference, and everybody there were healers. And I thought, why does it work for him? Why are we studying with him? What does he have more? Those are the questions I always ask. Why, And then that guy had been in the army. He was now retired. And he used the angels like his back, like the army, like, oh, the angels told me. So to me, it was easy. You didn't have to own it. It's like an angel told you. But the guy could take off like a cancer, could heal cancer. But when he would ask that it be removed, do you think he doubted? That guy was a major in the army. When he asked the army to turn right, do you think he expected them to turn left?
Mm-mm.
So I did a protocol based on him. Yeah. I thought, I'm not going to go back in the army. I made a protocol so that when I would command, my command would be efficient. Mm-hmm. And I thought, I don't have the program he does, so I'm going to put it in my DNA. And I made a protocol for this. And what I did, I chose a spot in our life where we can command with ease. Like, let's say for a parking spot, like if it's easy for you to call a parking spot and you have it, then you take that energy of success that exists somewhere in this matrix, that success makes a vibe like this. And I thought, we're going to make it in another spot where we cannot command. And so I made a protocol. Does this person have an area in her life where she can command with certainty? Let's say parking spots. Mm-hmm. Doesn't need to be cosmic or great or spiritual. We just want to have the energy of success. Mm-hmm. And can it be deferred or transferred to this other area in her life where she cannot? And then you test in muscle testing and it says yes. So we transfer it. And then we ask, does the cells in that person know that they can command with certainty? And we all kinds of questions in that protocol. And at the end we go, I command that it be installed in the DNA. And people started to have a lot more effect with their commands, but I want to make just a point here. Because I really differ from the whole philosophy that we can ask for anything, that it's a secret we've lost. To me, this is not true. The thing we need to command most is self-love. Because what if you have a big house and you hate yourself? You'll never. It's no point. It's like a castle in the sand. The first wave of self-hatred is gonna come and destroy it. We have seen so many people climb to stardom and wealth and never find happiness because this is not the right thing to command. Mm-hmm. The right thing to command is essence, who we truly are in our true nature, and the power to be present. Because if I have commanded the power to be present no matter what, I'm well equipped for life. I'm well equipped for life on the physical level, the emotional level, the mental level, and the spiritual level. Because we do have 4 bodies, at least 4 bodies, like in this bubble around us. And we want our learning and our experience to touch all the areas of who we are, not just our physical self. I lived in a tourist town and I have seen people that have money and leisure and are empty inside, so what's the point? It's like you will, and then they say, oh yeah, but all that matters when you die is love. But what if your love is just in one of the bodies and doesn't even include yourself? I have seen really giving and loving people who didn't love themselves, and what we got in their loving was their self-hatred too. Because you can only be, we influence each other, we don't give.
So that brings us to really the point 0. Can you explain to us why it is so important and how we can use actually those 2 energies and be in this vortex to find really the sacred spot that you talk about?
To me, emotion means E plus motions. It's energy and movement. And if you were to take, let's say in Tai Chi, your 2 hands, and one would be your positive hand, like all the good things about you and about life and what you like and what you want, and this would be all the self-doubt and the fear of humiliation and the poor me and everything. And you go, oh, I want a nice cottage by the ocean, and I see it and it's beautiful. And then, and then you go like this, and then your fear comes, I can never do it. And look what happens to your cottage. It stops the movement. The 2 hands need to be in movement, coexisting all the time. And when you say, and usually in an intent, you don't put the form, you put the feeling of it. Mm-hmm. And you put, I wish a feeling of holiday and rest. Even though I'm afraid that I'm too wired to do so. Let's say, okay, we take, and so you go, okay, I'm wired and rest, and wired and rest. And do you see how they coexist? And then they start coexisting like a vortex, where each of the emotion is the side of a tornado. And in the center of it is a sacred space where creation starts. And in that creation is what we call vacuity, the emptiness that is full, the heart space. That has the positive and negative. And when you say a sentence like, oh, I choose to love myself even though I don't, or I choose to feel adequate even though I doubt myself, and you walk in a job interview, what the person, instead of getting the, oh, I doubt myself first, they will get, adequate and doubt. And what they pick up finally is that sacred space inside. You see the difference? Because
much.
If it's not convergent, going to the center, it's divergent, it's going to the outside. So the energy you wanted the job and your fear and everything goes to the outside and hit the next person or the situation. When it's convergent, it builds up. It builds up your center and the sacred space inside. And from that place, the heart exists. And the right moment exists. The presence exists. And the presence to everything as is. And when we read about the road of the Tao, in the Tao, it says that the Tao goes sometimes high and sometimes low and sometimes straight and sometimes crooked. And then you think, well, where does it go? The aim, it's not where it's going. It's to stay on it when it goes up and when it goes down and when it curves. And the way to stay on a road that moves like this is to be on its rail. And to stay on this rail, you need a 0 point and self-love. The self-love of your essence is what's going to guide you. The essence, and all my work on DNA didn't bring me a youthful face. It's great posture. It's yoga and horse work, that brought me posture. But to stay in the consciousness behind yoga and my work with horses is presence. And that, the work of DNA brought it. I installed it in my genes and it's working for me now.
So we don't create anymore our objectives in life, but it's the essence that is guiding us in life then. It's a whole new paradigm.
And also, look, if it's not the essence that's directing, it's the ego. And I have nothing against the ego, because if you don't have essence, you're better off to have an ego than nothing. Right? So, faced with nothing, we chose ego. And we build it up on our own. But the way we build ego is built out of a history of our family, history of our childhood, and we build it up with what we had. The essence was still within us like a little seed of mustard. And we can now, through DNA, install the program so that it can blossom. And also inside our body, 70% of the body is empty. It's called the interstitial void. Between the cells, there's so much emptiness. And essence is a vibration, and it can vibrate in there. And the best image of an emptiness that is full is the physical body. And do you know that the universe is built the same way? Over 70% of the universe is empty, just like the physical body. And it's pretty amazing. We're built exactly the same way. And would you say in your body that if we were to pull the emptiness out of the body, you would have the density of a golf ball? That's how big we would be. So would you say, when you look at your body, that the emptiness is in the density or the density is in the emptiness? It's impossible to say. It's exactly the same with the universe, with the heart, with vacuity, with 0 point. They coexist. They don't melt. They don't become one. They coexist. And once we start asking that essence take its place inside of us, then our body transforms. My body has so changed even in the last year that my students who come back a year earlier say, what has she done? I have done nothing. I'm eating the same way. I've been into health food since I was 17 and I'm 55. It's not like I've discovered granola all of a sudden. I've never not eaten this way since I was 17, and why is it I was not looking as fit before? It's because now inside my body, essence is taking its rightful place. And everything that's not essence goes away because essence is king in there. This body was made for my essence. And I describe essence as being our pure vibrational rate that we have. It's like a frequency. You're pure, and everybody has a unique frequency. And when you think of the cosmic whole, it's made of this ocean of unique frequency. And for me, the alchemist vision, is that we are go back to the ocean, but we remain a drop. So it's like you're part of the whole, but your individuality. And once you start focusing on essence, you don't have to bother with ego. It naturally leaves room for essence because essence is at its right place and it's mastered there. And it doesn't have to make a fight, it's its rightful place. And ego was our friendly companion while we had no essence. And it's the shits. There's no other words about ego because it doesn't have vibration in it. So it's constantly destructuring itself because it's not held by life force. It's got no life force. It's just got a history holding it. And the history changes depending who looks at it. In the same family, 3 siblings can have a different story of that family, even though they grew up under the same roof. That's to tell you how solid a history is. It's all in the perceiver's eyes.
Kishori, would you have a last little message for people listening right now that you would like us to hear?
Do you know what I would tell them? Do not change. Choose to love yourself the way you are, even though you don't know how. And that choice will make a ripple, and that will have an influence. Don't go to workshop to change or get better or increase yourself. Go to workshops so you can be more tolerant with yourself the way you are. So you can choose to love yourself even though you hate yourself.
Thank you very much.
Let's not wait. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.